Welcome to the Reconnecting Roots Behind the Music podcast. My name is Mandy McCauley, your friendly neighborhood music supervisor. Joining me is Gabe McCauley, our TV show host, and my house bandmates, Dillon, Hodges, and Heidi Feek. Together we have conversations about the history and stories behind the songs we feature on our television show and Reconnecting Roots music albums, which you can find anywhere you can find an internet. Please enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reconnecting Roots Behind the Music. Not behind the scenes, but behind the music. Today, we're going to talk about our hunting episode and why these fine folks here that are with me today chose to record Home on the Range. I've got with me Mandy McCauley, music supervisor and part of the house band, also known as my wife. And clear from, actually, I'm more known as her husband. So I don't want to.
Welcome to me.
Welcome to our home. And welcome to Firekid's home, all the way down in Florence, Alabama. Tell us a little about yourself.
Top of the morning. By the time this comes out, that meme will be so dead.
Yeah, well.
It already is.
Hello and welcome to our home in Florence, Alabama. I'm Heidi, and that is Dillon.
That over there.
And
he is Dillon.
He is
I
Dillon.
am Dillon.
And we are firekid.
Correct.
Also, we are 2/3 of the Reconnecting Roots house band.
And today, we're gonna talk about everyone's favorite non-controversial topic, hunting, and whether it's still relevant today, and why we should do it or shouldn't. And actually, we're not going to get into that. Little known fact, though, the hunting industry does make a ridiculous amount of money. That's one thing we discovered in the episode, was that industry alone makes more than Google and Goldman Sachs put together in 2019 or something like that. I don't know. Some kind of outrageous number. The point is, it's a lot. A lot of people are still doing it, although it is in decline. And so, we're asking the question.
But not here today.
No, we're not actually going to ask it. Really, what we're going to ask is, Home on the Range, why that song? And for this particular topic, was it hard to find a public domain song about hunting?
I think in the early stages, when we start talking about the songs for each episode, we bring up the obvious. And I think the obvious for us was A Hunting We Will Go, A Hunting We, or whatever, the one that
the dairy-o, the dairy again.
Oh,
The
if you heard our last
the
podcast
London Derriere
episode, that's, yeah.
But we didn't choose that one, did we?
No.
And are you regretting that decision?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You used this one in the dadgum trailer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we did.
This was the most straightforward, just like, let's do this song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like if the approach we took was like, let's make Frank your mentor for the show, your executive producer, I guess. Let's make him proud.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know for me, when I saw that the topic was hunting, my immediate response was, oh boy. And then because for me, I'm not really interested in hunting at all, but other people are, that's fine, whatever. But I just tried to think of a song that I liked that had something to do with hunting. And this song I like because if you didn't know, I really love trail songs, and any kind of trail or Western song I'm always a big fan of. And so that immediately I loved. And then it named a bunch of animals that maybe people would want to hunt. And so I was like, that for me is how I feel about hunting. Like, I'm so disassociated from it that it's like
those people
will like this because they like to hunt these
deer and
animals.
antelope.
Yeah.
Where the deer and the antelope play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the buffalo roam,
They're
which
just
we don't
out
have
there.
buffalo anymore. And why do we not have buffalo?
We do have buffalo.
Well, not like the
We do. The numbers have returned. I'm sure that Gabe can tell you about it, but
Do we have the same buffalo that we had at the beginning?
well, not the literal same guys.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's actually been somewhat complicated to find because when you have herds like that and they've tried to trace genetically to like, the original bison or whatever it is versus the bison we have today or the buffalo, I think it's just difficult because it's kind of like the wild horse thing as well. Like, you just can't stop animals doing what animals do. And if they're roaming around on the range, then, but I would say it's very close. This would be a good question for Stephen Ranella, who we interviewed in this particular episode, who literally wrote the book on American buffalo. I'm not qualified to get into some of the specifics, but I will say, yes, there still are a lot of buffalo out there. We see them when we visit Yellowstone and other places, and
When you drive down 65,
there's
some
some
buffalo
pets.
just hanging out right there.
Yeah.
Just two of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but certainly there was a time in our history where a lot of individuals, a lot of hunters, a lot of Native American hunters, a lot of people paid to go and come home with hides and bones and things. Certainly there was a time in which we did wipe out a significant amount of buffalo in a very short period of time. And fortunately, there were some people that realized we better think about this for a second and put some things in place to stop some of that, and thus the beginning of some conservation movements, some private land being purchased and then used to become national parks, stuff like that. So
Awesome.
The Home on the Range isn't explicitly about hunting, though, correct? It's just
No.
no, the song doesn't seem to be, but nonetheless, I felt like it is somewhat fitting for this particular episode. Tell us about the history of the song here, Mandy.
I will tell you about the history of this song, but I also want to talk about the lyrics because when speaking once again about that eternal melody, the third verse of this song that is the original verse that we used was the lyric is the native was pressed from this part of the west. It's not likely he'll ever return. And we didn't think about that as we decided to use those lyrics and record this for the show, but then it just all encapsulated itself within season 2 of the show because we talked exactly about that in the Native American episode as well. So it all tied in together.
Yeah, and I was also just
well,
thinking...
if you're talking about history of hunting buffalo.
I was just thinking because we watched that Ken Burns documentary, The West, and in that he actually talks about, not to bring it back to trains as well, but people would be on trains and they would go and just like shoot the buffalo from the trains just to kill them, which wiped out the food supply for a lot of Native Americans, major food supply of a lot of Native Americans. But that was just for a good time.
Turning something from a thou into an it.
Yeah.
Classic.
Classic. Yeah.
The history of Home on the Range is written by Brewster Higley.
Wow, good name.
Woo! Right. And that was a poem. Once again, it started as a poem called My Western Home, and that was written in around 1872, and it was about his homestead in Kansas. And then Higley's friend named Daniel Kelley wrote a melody, and then a guy named David Guion, am I saying that correctly? Guion?
Absolutely.
Probably,
I
definitely.
knew him, and he would have felt
He
good about
loves
that.
it.
Again, if the closer you get to the mic, the more you will pronounce it correctly.
Revised the song in 1930 for a Broadway show and retitled it Home on the Range. And it was adopted or adapted. I don't know. Am I saying that correctly? Adapted.
Well, it depends if it was taken
as
on
the
by
official state song of Kansas
Adopted.
in 1947.
Oh.
could have been adapted for Broadway, adopted as the state song.
Yes. And what the public domain version we're going to hear today? Tell us about that.
I definitely want to talk about that because this comes from the Lomax recordings, which I'd love to tell you a little bit about. So there's a family called the Lomaxes, and some people may or may not know this. They went around, and they're folklorists, or specifically a guy named Alan Lomax was an ethnomusicologist, and they went around and recorded all of the Appalachian songs and just American music, whatever that may be. And this is one of the recordings from that. And this was recorded in Florida in 1939. And the singer is a guy named James Richardson, but it was recorded by John and Ruby Lomax.
Well, I'd love to take a listen.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. How often the night, when the heaven are bright with the light of the glittering stars, I stood there amazed, and I asked as I gazed if their glory exists that of ours. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Mama Sauce works with people around the world to bring their print projects to life. They believe print still matters. They specialize in equipment like letter presses, screen print press, and hot foil presses. They can also handle just about any other specialty finishing on their antique production equipment. That's why we chose Mama Sauce to print our vinyl jackets. And they look hot. You know, like hot sauce. Check out mamas-sauce.com for your print project. That's mamas-sauce.com.
Mandy, what did you think of that recording?
What did I think of that recording?
Yeah.
I think I just focus on the fact that all of these recordings that were made by the Lomaxes and how we have all of them because they felt like it was important to go around to rural areas and understand the music of those different spots in America And that's why we have some of the things we do. And then, you know, later on the Carters went and recorded a bunch of those. And I thought, you know, and we keep recording the same songs over and over again because they mean something personally to us, separately, but personally to us.
I love that the Lomaxes did that. I love that that was something that they took upon themselves to do. And AP Carter kind of had the same spirit as they did. He would travel all the time to where it caused problems in his marriage because he would travel so much to go collect new folk songs from all over the place. Now, I think that he kind of had maybe a vested interest because he was in a band. So
well, it's his job at the heart of it, but he was in the business with his wife. So yeah. I think that's cool. Mm-hmm.
What did the Lomaxes call this project? Did they have a name for it? What was their objective?
The objective was to record things that were not normally heard so that we can learn from them.
To give voice to the mountain types. Right, Dillon?
Not just the mountain types.
They would like travel out to the middle of nowhere and record these people that probably had never seen a light bulb, you know.
This still happens.
All kinds of stuff.
This still happens nowadays, but it's much more rare. Like music label like Smithsonian Folkways or something still employs ethnomusicologists in America, and so they'll capture, you know, what do you call it, like micro music scenes. So, I mean, they're the kind of people that would come to Muscle Shoals to hear, you know, whatever the music is that we make, because it's unusual, you know. It still exists today, but with everyone having access to the internet, it's more homogenous. So there's a real benefit to having these older recordings captured in time, because it's from a time when music was able to be more diverse because people weren't all listening to the same things. People didn't have access to everything.
And people didn't have access to recording gear either the way that you do now. So they were able to record people that, had they not have gone there, those voices, those songs could have been lost forever. And so
it's good that we have them.
That.
You know, it's not worse or better way of doing things. I personally appreciate being able to listen to their recordings, but also hear, you know, Aphex Twin or someone really weird who's on the other side of the world, you know, making music, and we can be inspired by more things nowadays, but that wasn't the case back then.
So what inspired you to make the choices that you decided to make for the newly reimagined version of Home on the Range? How different is it?
I think this one in particular, I wanted to do something that was just pretty straightforward and beautiful, because we hadn't had anything that just tried to elevate the original spirit of what I imagined the song to be. And so I wanted to evoke some sort of, like, I don't know, idealistic image with the music and the production that seemed to be portrayed in the lyric. Something kind of sentimental, which isn't my typical tact when, you know, pursuing the angle of the song that we think would make it the best. In this instance, I was just like, let's just do it. Let's just let it be what it wants to be.
Yeah, I know Dillon mentioned it earlier. I don't know if it was while we were rolling or not, but Frank, who is the mastermind behind this project,
the executive producer, I suppose.
He loves trail songs too, the same way that I do. And anytime we play up there, he always requests that I play one of the trail songs that I've recorded. And so part of it was kind of, we want to make, you know, Daddy Frank happy. We want to make him proud of us. Yeah. And we want to do something that specifically, when we were recording it, we were thinking about him and how he might really enjoy this version of it. And he's so wonderful that it's fun to make stuff for him.
He specifically complimented me
Yeah.
on this version last time we saw him. So I was like, oh, it worked.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. Yeah.
And you guys have an interesting challenge that we haven't spoke about yet in regards to these songs and the album. There's kind of a number of layers that you have to be considering. There's one, how do we do justice to this classic song, this public domain song that we're trying to then reimagine for modern ears, maybe with modern sensibilities, taste, or even just like we said, lyrically, we have to consider maybe changing some things for our society today, culturally, to be appropriate. On top of that, you were doing one recording that is live on our show. So you're bearing in mind like the tone, like how it will play in the context of the entire show. So sometimes the live performance on the show is slightly different than the recorded version that we have on the album. Mm-hmm. And then also bearing in mind the context of the entire album, so that, you know, all 7 songs aren't slow and sad and melodramatic, etc., but having some amount of variety so you get a bit of a ride on the album. But that's hard to think about as a big picture when you know there's something that could serve the song as a standalone really well. Mm-hmm. But then having to be like, but we've already done 3 other songs that have the same tone. Maybe we ought to switch this one up. So I know it was a challenge.
Fortunately, the way we work on them is usually Mandy will come to Florence with Heidi and I, and we do them together. And so that means we're working on all of them at the same time. And so once we get approval from the higher ups, Gabe, that the song selection is correct, then we can just look at them as a whole before we really get too deep into the weeds.
And make changes if we need to.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, that's definitely something that the process of making a record, or at least our process of making this record and the other one, is just... it's different steps. I don't feel like till it's in your hand, till we get that vinyl in our hand, you know, we're still always kind of doing something.
Yeah, still tweaking it somehow.
Mm-hmm. So even if we had gotten this one and there were too many slower songs, we might have either said, can we speed this up? Which the answer, if I was singing it, would be no. The lyrics there's a lot of lyrics that I can't sing that many that quickly. Or we might look into replacing it with a different song that fit better.
I sort of disagree. I think in the end, once we've selected the song, we don't really go back and change the song. It's more like who sings the lead. You know? Like maybe Heidi wouldn't sing the lead if we needed to adjust it. Or my favorite tactic would be to keep the tempo the same, but swing the groove or something behind it so that it feels more energetic. Mm-hmm. But this one did not, it did not want that by any means. It just wanted to be pretty. It just wanted to kind of just sit there and be observed and be enjoyed. You don't have to think about it. It's not a real thinker. It just is home on the range, you know?
Yeah, and I'm really excited for season 3 because I think we've just learned a lot. I mean, this has been, as Frank likes to say, a progressive revelation. But I know one of the challenges we ran into to some extent was realizing that in certain episodes there would be a tone that we would reach by the end of the episode that might be a little bit more optimistic and fun, or it might be sort of more somber and, heartfelt. And so depending upon not thinking sometimes all the way through the end and the song that was coming up next and the particular style of it, sometimes that was a little bit of we'd have to go back to you guys and be like, I'm not sure if this is going to fit just right. Could we adjust this or what have you? Or sometimes we just went for it and said, well, I think it's okay. Yeah. The audience can decide whether we've done a good job or not. Yeah. But so I'm looking forward to season 3 is what I'm saying, because I think we're several steps ahead than we were last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned a lot from specifically like this record that we're talking about right now. So I don't know. I feel like for the next season we've got everything in place to just be an easier process. But it wasn't too bad this time. I mean, especially Home on the Range. It was just like it required almost no thought. It just came out, It was pure. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let's listen to
Well,
it.
let's listen.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range. Home, home on the range. The native was pressed from this part of the West. It's not likely he'll ever return to the banks of Red River, where seldom, if ever, his flickering campfire still burn. Home, home on the range. 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 Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Wow.
Heidi, how'd you feel about singing that song?
I feel really good about it. I think I did a good job.
Very good manners.
That was not a beauty pageant answer. I personally believe that Home on the Range was the perfect song for my voice.
It is kind of fun to work around the three of our vocals, because we all three have very different vocal styles. And a lot of times when we have the songs, the list of them, we can kind of all almost immediately agree on who sings what. It's kind of, the song's kind of
Yeah, I've never really cared about equal opportunity within who sings what. Like it doesn't have to be, if there's 9 songs, everybody sings 3.
mm-hmm.
But it's kind of worked out that way, so that it's nice to hear everybody featured. But like this one in particular was just kind of, the melody's legato, and you are a legato kind of gal, so it was perfect.
Heidi Legato Feek.
That's what they call her.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the keys in that song.
All right.
In the intro. Is that the Prophet?
No, it is the mellotron. So we have an instrument that I primarily use when I make stuff for Heidi, but it worked out great for the Reconnecting Roots stuff, and I think we have used it again in the season 3 material. But it's modeled after an old, like one of the original samplers, which was the mellotron, and it was a keyboard style instrument, but it had reels of tape on the inside with recorded sounds. And I don't really understand how the original worked, but I think you play keys and it can pitch it up and down. I don't know, it seemed like a real magical thing. The Beatles used it. It was used on a lot of recordings, but now they have it in little rack units and desktop mini keyboards and all that, and it sounds fantastic. It's got string sections and orchestra sounds on it, and
all kinds of
Not
instruments.
to mention the piano sounds that we used on this song, which, we kept it pretty ethereal, honestly. Lots of almost ambient textures. We kind of let it fall apart as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the one song I don't think I even played guitar on it. I think Willie played guitar on this song.
Mm. You did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
I didn't.
I don't think I did.
I didn't.
I did.
Oh, I knew it. It was Gabe. It was his very first time to ever play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, good job, everyone. Anything else that we need to discuss for Home on the Range?
Yeah, I just want to say I love you guys.
Oh, I love you.
Thanks for doing this.
This is fun.
Thank you. Okay, bye. You can visit reconnectingroots.com to buy our Season 2 vinyl. Side A has the old-timey recordings, and Side B has our reimagined versions of the same songs. You can also find out how to watch our show on real live TV or on the internets at reconnectingroots.com. Thanks for listening. And I guess to make it look like we have meaning in this world, you could like and subscribe or leave nice reviews wherever you're listening to this podcast. Apparently right now, that's what success is supposed to look like. You know what? Make your own choices. Maybe go outside and experience nature. Look a human in the eye and have a conversation. Like and subscribe to humans in front of your face. Invest in them the way we all invested in Bitcoin in 2021. Except your currency is your time and love. Go do that. Go out and love. That sounds better. Okay, see you next time. Bye.